What's going on? Welcome everyone to Real Talk Real Estate. I'm David Green, joined today with Kaleb Wright, a realtor in Oklahoma. This is the new Real Talk Realtor show. So if you are not a real estate agent and you don't want to listen to this, no hard feelings. I understand, but if you're curious about what goes on behind the curtains of the world of real estate, this would be a pretty fun show for you. And if you are a real estate agent, welcome. Glad that you're here. Before we get into the show today, the show sponsor is the One Brokerage. The One Brokerage is my mortgage company, helping people to finance real estate. We can do conventional loans, FHA, VA, small multifamily, regular residential, as well as all kinds of investment products as well. So if you're looking for someone to finance your real estate, or realtors, if you're looking for someone to take great care of your clients and help build your business, send me a DM on Instagram at davidgreen24, or go check out theonebrokerage.com. Then send me the DM. I'll get you connected. Kaleb, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Dude, Dave, I'm doing pretty doggone good. It's a beautiful night in Oklahoma, in rural Oklahoma, the small town of Jennings, a booming metropolis of 450 people. And it's a great time to be here. I'm happy to be here with you, my friend.
Only Kaleb could make a town of 450 people sound that good. And folks, you will realize this is one of the reasons that he sells so many homes, because he puts effort into everything, including the way he talks. Has anyone else ever referred to it as a booming metropolis like you?
Very few, maybe the mayor, and he's my dad, so might get that from somebody. I do, as you know, David, I do TikTok videos, and my one rule, there'll be some I don't do videos on, but my one rule is I have to have one thing that I like about that place. And so people watch my videos and they comment and they say, I just love how you get so excited about crap. And it's like, hey, it might be, but that deck that looks out over that hill, that is a great thing. Love that.
We should
So
call you the marketing plumber, because you're the only other person other than a plumber that gets excited about crap. So
hey,
welcome to
that's
the
right.
show. We're going to talk about it. All right, let's start off with a couple technical questions, and we're going to get into your origin story. So I want to know, how many units did you sell last year, 2024?
We had as an individual agent. Well, I'll start this. So I own a brokerage. I have a few agents underneath me. We did 108 transactions last year. That's 108 addresses, not sides, how some people do it. So 108 addresses. Personally, I closed 79 of those.
Okay. And do you have a bunch of buyer's agents working under you, a whole admin team?
Absolutely zero. I have a few agents that they do their own thing, right? They're not team members or anything like that. They just they sell just like I do. I have no transaction coordinator, no buyer's agent, no listing agent, nothing else. I have one person who I call my assistant, who records receipts for me. That's what she does, because I hate doing that.
So you do all your own transaction coordination, you show all your own houses, you do all your own listing coordination, you input your own listings, you schedule the photographers, you get the signs put in the yard, you do all your own negotiating. You're literally doing 100% of the transactions for 79 deals.
That's correct. That is correct. And sometimes I'll even a little more helping them after they close. So
All right, so I'm assuming that you're a single man and you never sleep and you just work 18 hours a day, sleep 6.
one one would assume, but no, I've got a lovely wife of almost 5 years now. Um, we have got a awesome son. He's 2 years old. His name's Weston. Got a beautiful little girl named Lucy. She's one, and then we got another one um, on the way in June. So yeah, we figured out how that stuff works. Um, and we don't know the name yet, but it's a little boy. And yeah, so I'm running my sales company, the brokerage, selling 79 houses. I have a construction company that we do custom and spec houses. So selling new construction as well. And then, gosh, I do a few flips here and there. And then I've got several rental units now at this point. So
Now, I think most people would think this is impossible. They've been taught to believe it's impossible, can't be done. I've also seen how most people work, and I understand why they think that. I don't know if you would agree. I would imagine that you would, just having a brokerage and seeing how other employees work. Not very many people are getting the most out of their God given abilities. Would you agree?
what? Oh, 100%. It is impossible with a 40-hour work week. Like you couldn't do it. Um, yeah, if I did a 9 to 5 and didn't really want to get up that early or didn't want to sacrifice some time with my family or um, didn't want to work weekends, you're right. It wouldn't be done. Like tomorrow, I've got 2 meetings. I've got showings and I've got 2 new construction meetings. So yeah, if you didn't want to, um, it would be impossible. But I mean, even God works 6 days a week.
That's a good attitude. All right. Now, you sold 79 sides this year. How much real estate have you sold so far?
Oh gosh, we just closed. I just closed 20 for the year today. So yeah, this is my. I had a closing every day this week and 2 today. So
Closed 2 deals today. All right. Let's just start with these. Like, how did you meet these people? How long did it take you to put them in contract? Were these listings or buyers? What's the deal with those?
all right. So the first one today, a guy named Robert. He closed a little. He's like an investor. Bought this little house in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And you'll also notice I'll say some names as we go on. And I am a very widespread agent. I have an opinion that I am a licensed Oklahoma real estate agent, and that means that I can sell it anywhere in the state of Oklahoma. So if I have someone serious, I will drive. Furthest I've driven for a listing or a buyer is probably about 4 hours. Um, and the least, right? 5 minutes. Taking the old four-wheeler. Um, but anyway, so how I met these folks, I had a phone call on a listing, and didn't quite fit this guy. We found another one for him. He was a cash buyer. Very simple. It's about as easy as it gets. 2.5 weeks. He was great. Um, the second one I closed today from a small town, right? When I first started real estate, I thought, gosh, I've got to get to Tulsa. I've got to get to Oklahoma City. The only people buying and selling real estate is in the city. And that's just incorrect. It's a fallacy. There's in rural areas, rural markets, there are lots of transactions. It might not be the $1 million ones or the ones that are a million. They're going to be a lot fewer and far between. Um, so this particular one, a guy that I've known for a long time, went to high school with his brother. He was selling his own personal house. Nothing too expensive. I mean, believe it or not, some people might not believe this. Less than $100,000 house. Um, and I knew I knew the first phone call to make. Called a guy who I knew was looking for some rentals, some inexpensive rentals, and cash transaction. Went simple, went easy. They all don't go like that, as you know, but the 2 today were pretty decent.
All right. Now you mentioned you're building homes. Some of them are custom homes, so somebody pays you to build a house for them. You help them design it. Some of them are spec houses where you build a house that you try to sell to someone. You're also closing a bunch of your own deals without a team. It's amazing. And then you're running a brokerage in addition to that, and you don't have help. I'm not even going to use this episode to talk about how the hell you do that. I think that is itself like kind of a mystery. Like, how do you fit all that into a schedule? We'll do that on a future episode. What I want to know is how do you get that many human beings to come to you and say, Kaleb, I would like to buy a house or I'd like you to sell my house? Because if you are closing 79 units, how many human beings is that reaching out to you just to talk about real estate in general?
I would say close to 1,000, if not more.
Okay. So where are you getting these leads from? Is this all self-generated? Are you doing open houses? Are you buying leads? How does this work?
Um, all of it. I do all of it. So yeah. So from you just got to talk to everybody. Start from the top. You talk to as many people as you can. You got to like people. You got to enjoy chatting. You got to be engaged. Like, really, if you care about somebody, you're going to learn their wants. You're going to learn their needs. Like, you can have a conversation with someone and figure out, hey, this house that you guys have been um, asking to see in the middle of, a neighborhood in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, uh, is not really what you want. What you really want is you want something on an acre, um, and you want a little bit of space for the dog. And you learn to see what people want and what they need, and then you can develop relationships. You develop enough relationships, then their friends will have somebody for you, your family. I do a lot of social media stuff. I am posting, chatting, talking. I engage. Like I treat Facebook Marketplace. I treat comment sections of TikTok and Facebook as an open house, right? I mean, if you raise your hand, I'm going to say, "Hey, how can I help you?" I'm going to have that conversation. If I can steer any conversation to the direction I want, then I can say, "Hey, who do you know wanting to buy a house, sell a house?" And then so I do some paid leads. I do um, some open houses occasionally, not a whole ton. So yeah, I mean, I try to use every aspect of lead generation as you can, because I think you'd be silly not to.
Hmm. All right. You said something to me earlier. You said this is a business for extroverts. Introverts can do it, but it's really, really, really kind of meant for and built for, designed for extroverts. What do you mean by that?
I mean that you not only have to be okay with talking to people, you got to enjoy it. You got to like having the same conversation over and over again. I was on this group called the Power Team. Gosh, probably 10 years ago. Some people might know who they are. They rip phone books and smash large stacks of concrete, break Louisville Slugger baseball bats, do these events at schools and churches. Um, and I think I learned probably the greatest people skills from doing that, because you had to wake up at 4 in the morning, take the first flight out on a Wednesday morning. You fly to some town in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, and as soon as you land, there's someone very interested in you that you have to be interested in, because for the next 5 days until Sunday night and Monday morning when they're dropping you off at the airport, you have to tell the same stories you tell every week. And you got to ask the same questions as them because they expect it from you. You got to be okay with over and over and over and over again, and not just check out. You got to care about the people. And so, weeks and weeks and weeks in a row doing that, I think it's really taught me like how to engage with purpose.
That's really good. Okay. So when you first started with the power team, you weren't quite the extrovert that you became.
I was an extrovert. Like, I've always been kind of a funny, chatty guy, but it truly taught me like how to do it with purpose, right? Like when you're
Yes.
tired and you're tired all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a robot. I get tired, but you got to be able to still engage with some form of civility and enjoyment even when you're tired, and not just be like, "I'm out of here. See ya. I don't want to talk."
So let's talk a little bit about the realtors that you come across that you think are doing it the wrong way. What do they look like, and contrast that with how you would change things for them if you were in control of how they interacted with people?
Um, that's a good question, David. I think about this quite often. Like, nobody hates a real estate agent like a real estate agent.
Oh, amen. I say that all the time.
I,
Like, nobody hates real estate agents more
I,
than me, and here I am making a podcast for us.
I, I absolutely hate realtors, but it's because I think they're, obviously the barrier of entry is kind of low. Um, I think that I think that there's a misnomer of the word experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trope, right? Oh, I've been in this industry 20 years. I'm doing a deal right now with a lady who's been in the industry for like 18 years. At least that's what it says on her Zillow. It could be longer than that. That's what it's typed out on Zillow. It's 17 years. Um, she's done like 350 transactions, and she's like a broker. And I was like, dang, I've done 250 in like less than 6.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
so
she's a
to
heavy
me,
hitter,
yeah,
right?
she's a heavy hitter. That's a
How
lot,
many
right?
are out there that have been in the business for 20 years and they sold 2 houses a year for their career,
Oh,
right?
probably probably the vast majority, right?
That's what you sold in
So,
6 months. So I see what you're saying about experience. It's kind of a misleading term to talk about how many years you've been in.
yeah. So in my opinion, time is not experience. Experience is experience. Uh, doing repetition, doing
Mm-hmm.
deals, and that's where I think I got to be a good agent. Was I'm not an agent that's selling a house in a neighborhood that gets turned over maybe every 3 to 8 years, right? Your normal numbers. There's no issues with those, right? You have all the comps in the world there. You have zero title issues. Sometimes when I get my title attorney either loves me or hates me because I have something crazy for him all the time. I've got wild stuff. Hey, this needs a quiet title here. This has an easement. Like I've got one right now that the lender doesn't quite understand how to do it because it's in a small town and there's an easement going through the garage. So it's an encroachment into the easement. And it's like a fake unused easement. It just shows up on the survey. Well, the title attorney knows that, hey, this is in a small town. No one's ever going to tell them to do that. They said, I'll even insure it for forced removal. And now we're walking through like how to get the lender what he needs to close that. So I think, to circle back to your question, I think a lot of agents just like stop there, right? They don't push on. They don't say, how do we get the deal done? And at the end of the day, like I've had to have some conversations with people. At the end of the day, like you and I, as an agent, like on both sides, we are trying to protect this transaction. Like it is our job because sometimes people's emotions get in the way of things, and it's our job to have them keep a cooler head and say, hey, this isn't probably the best direction. Yeah, they're wanting a lot of stuff, but guess what? We've been on market for 150 days, and this is the first offer that's came in. Let's work it. Let's work this thing so you can sell this property and they can buy it. So what? It's a little bit more headache, but you're going to be in a better position than you were yesterday. And I don't think a lot of agents understand that's what you do, and that it is like our job as a real estate agent is not to open doors. It is not to go find properties and send them to you. Let's be honest. Like I know agents like to dog it, but my goodness, like Zillow's the best user interface right
Well,
now.
they're going to use it anyway. You can look properties
Exactly.
up for them, and they're going to say cool, and then they're going to go look at what they like.
Exactly. Like they can give me a criteria. You know this. Like they can say buyers are liars, right? Hey, what do you want? Well, I want 2 acres, and I'm capped at 325,000, and and that's what I need. And then they send you like a $400,000 house that is not in your search criteria because you're not looking for that. So it's like you guys know what you want more than I know what you want. Once you get there, then that's where I come in, right? How do we structure a deal? How do we make our offer look better than others in a competing offer? And sometimes you're hamstrung to the borrower if they're getting loans, but other times there's even better ways and you can get creative.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Give me some examples of how you've seen, because I think what you're getting at is the agents have a tendency to want to be liked. Most of them are high eye on the disc profile, which I'm assuming you are too, just interacting with you. But you don't let that get in the way of the mission, which is to make the deal work. When somebody wants to be liked, their biggest fear is to not be liked, which means they don't want to tell their clients anything that would make the client not like them. Sometimes that's what you have to do to be loyal to the deal. So they end up being loyal to their feelings as opposed to loyal to the deal, and they don't do a good job. What are some examples of things you've heard other agents where, man, you were this close? Like if you'd have just said this, you could have had them in contract, or you didn't have the guts to have a certain kind of a conversation that you just, I mean, you're the real estate rhino, right? You just charge right through that.
Oh, I mean, there's instances where I've had to fire people. Um, I had one guy who he was an attorney and he'd had this house on for I was probably the fourth real estate agent for him. So he's obviously cycling through people real quick. I think I was only the second one to get an offer on it, right? Um, so we send him this. It's a commercial building, so we get this offer. It was lower, right? And he goes, "Okay, fine, we'll do it, but I don't want any inspections." And again, he's an attorney, right? So he's crossing out like Oklahoma Real Estate Commission um, contracts, and he's crossing it out and saying, "No, we're not doing inspections." and they can't cancel a contract if if something falls through with their purchase. And I was like, um, okay, so just to are you sure you want to sell this? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. I want to get rid of it. And I said, well, I'm sure this is what I told him. I said, I'm sure you're a phenomenal attorney, but I know this town like the back of my hand, and I can sell anything here. If you let me just work this, I promise you I'll get this thing sold.
Mm.
And I said, and guess what? Even if it busts, you're in a no worse predicament than you are right now with it just sitting here not being sold. And, he said, no, I won't do that. This is and I said, I cannot help you any further. And so I fired him. I let him go. I took the listing down and released it. Because there's certain things that you got to be able to do, even if that's not like, as a seller, you have the ability to say, no, I'm not going to do that. But as a buyer, you got to have the comfortability to expect that. And so I imagine, to circle back with running that with agents, I have probably had, especially in the competing markets where you had 15 offers. We were, believe it or not, Oklahoma was in there too. We had a lot of competing offers in 22. It was pretty wild. So I imagine there's a whole bunch of those scenarios where the offer was maybe close, where it wasn't, where we just missed out on it. But there's other offers that we did get, right? So, and I can expand on that a little bit if you'd like me to. But that's kind of what I see a lot.
Now, something else that you and I were talking about, you mentioned when you're working with buyers specifically, that sometimes they want to see 50 homes. And you're like, you don't need to see 50 homes. You need to tell me what you want, and I will go find the houses that will work for that. And we're going to go look at them and we're going to talk about it. And you sounded very sure of yourself when it comes to having these conversations. Can you tell me what that process looks like for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll have people who they say, we want to see about 14 homes. And I'll say, okay, why don't you narrow that down to 5? Narrow that down to your favorite 5. You know what you're looking for. You know what pictures you like the most. You don't need to see 14, 15, 20. I've heard people say, I've showed these guys 50 homes. If I'm showing somebody 50 homes, it's because I'm writing 50 offers, right? Like, I will show somebody as many houses as they want as long as we're writing offers.
Okay.
But in good competitive ones, right? So I'll narrow it down. I'll say, you need to narrow this down to 5 houses. And this is a particular example. They had about 14 houses they wanted to see. I said, narrow this down. What's your top 5 if you had to choose? So they gave me their top 5. I only picked those top 5. Out of those top 5, 2 went pending. So they showed 3 houses. They had one that they really liked. We're going to offer on it. One more showed up on market the next day. I said, okay, sure. Let's go look at that one. They loved it, contracted that one. So 4 houses, less than my 5 that I asked them to ask for, or I asked them to look at. So, yeah, I think there's no need to see that many. People can understand, get an idea from pictures. I mean, I don't know how many times I've sold homes where the person's completely remote, and it's been all on video, FaceTime, photos.
Yep. I bought houses like that.
Exactly. So you can really get so far without actually seeing it. And then once you see it, it's just like, okay, cool. We like this. This has a better feel. I mean, sometimes it's the smell test that gets it, right? Hey, it smells good.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was buying them that way, they would just send me a video. It wasn't the video that sold me on the house. It was the enthusiasm of my agent. When their tone was like, yeah, it's in this part of town and it does have 3 bedrooms and there were 2 full bathrooms, I suppose. But I mean, I don't know. Did you want to write an offer? That was very different than, oh my God, this house is amazing. It is right across the street from a park. It's so close to the freeway. All the houses on the street look so nice. I loved it. I wish that I lived in this house. It is such a good deal. I swear I'd never seen a house at this price that looks like this. When I heard that, I really think that had more of an impact on my excitement about the property. Now, I was usually buying rundown houses anyway, so they weren't going to be pretty. But when I could tell they really liked the area, they loved how big the square footage was, that there was something about that deal that made it stand out. Most agents don't hide their feelings. They're either enthusiastic or they poo-poo the deal. And you're sensing that when you're the buyer. You're probably listening to that more than your words. Do you think that you're able to convey to your buyers that this is a good deal and why, when other agents are afraid to have those conversations?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've been in my fair share of just crap holes, right? So I kind of understand, and I buy a bunch of crap holes, and I love them. But like, you can tell really quickly from a house. And that being said, some people might prefer uh, the other way, right? Like, some people might prefer a what I would call a lesser home because it might have a little bit more character and a little bit more charm. Um, and that's a preference, right? But like for me, a couple weeks ago, I have this couple that are looking, and they're pretty picky. Like, they like some stuff, and we showed this house, and I was like, "This is you need to buy this house." Like, and I don't really tell them. Like, I'll tell them, I don't tell them you need to buy this house on a lot of stuff. I'll tell them, nah, this is a crap hole. You guys don't want this, right? Like, I'll tell them not to. If I'm indifferent, like, hey, because people like stuff I don't like. Like, there's a lot of opinions, and people like different layouts. They like different things than I prefer. But every once in a while, there'll be one where I'm just like, you guys got to get this. This thing is a diamond in the rough. Um, so yeah, we do. We do come across those instances where that happens.
A lot of agents are nervous about telling somebody not to buy a house because they're thinking that they're going to blow up the deal. Or it's kind of like when you're excited about your new puppy and someone says it's ugly and they don't like your puppy. They don't want to hurt their feelings. But you say it's better to say, you know what? You don't want this house. Let's just get out of here and see the next one. I wouldn't buy this one. What's your logic in that?
Oh, absolutely. Like, if my agent, if I'm selling a house and my agent has multiple deals going on, and or if I'm buying one, right, I'm gonna trust them a little bit more because the especially as the buyer, right, the buyer's agent, because if my deal busts, they're not like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world for them. I one time had this, and I'm willing to do a lot of stuff to get houses closed for my clients. There was one a few years ago. It'd been on market for a long time. Numbers were pretty tight on it, and so we get an offer, and it was real close. They were low, and I was like, hey, we can do this thing if you want to just shave. I'll shave a 0.5% off, and you can shave a 0.5% off on commission. And I would say most agents would probably do that. And this lady goes, I can't do that. I really need the money. And so she was willing to let the deal bust for less than a 0.5%, um, just because she needed a little bit of money. And to me, I said, you know what? I'll take it on my side. And we get it closed. The guy has since referred me half a dozen
Right.
customers.
Yeah. I think you told me about either this one or one like it, but my comment to that was, agents will spend $3,000 on ad spend for leads they don't know that are also dating other people, right? Trying to buy these online leads is terrible. It's like you're on Tinder for real estate. They're just all seeing a whole bunch of different agents, and you're trying to hope that you're the one that they choose, but they won't give up $1,500 of commission because they say they need the money, right? Well, what was your ROI on that percent that you gave up from all the other deals you got?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm
Gosh,
not
that was
literally asking you, but it's a lot,
no,
right? You
I
said they
mean,
sent you several
yeah,
deals.
yeah. I mean, he sent me a guy that was a $600,000 seller. You know, that's and that's not huge in some places. I get, but it's big around here.
No, you're probably what,
Um,
14 to $18,000 commission on a $600,000 house.
yeah, it's 18,000.
Yeah,
So the 0.5%, the $2,000 I let go there on his sale. Okay, cool.
yeah, 9 times money on that one deal, and then that
Hmm.
one might lead to referrals. This is when I was building the David Green team. I haven't talked about this a lot, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to kind of put the exclamation point on your story there. I wasn't on the bigger pockets yet. I hadn't written a bunch of books yet. It was just my own sphere and what I could do at an open house. Now I owned real estate, so I had some credibility. People would come to me like, "Hey, you're the real estate guy, David. I think I want to buy a house." That was a benefit to me. But every deal I got, 25% of them came from open houses and 75% of them came from like my database or referrals from my database. So every customer I was working with, I didn't look at it like I'm trying to close this deal. I looked at it like I'm trying to close this deal and your mom's deal and your sister's deal and your neighbor's deal and your friend's deal and your maid of honor's deal and your cousin's deal. And then when I was working with grandma, it was the same thing. I want grandma to tell all the other old ladies at the bingo hall that they need to use this really nice boy named David Green to sell their house. I looked at every single deal like I'm auditioning for the right to sell the houses of all your other people because I wanted to have a long career. Now, oddly enough, what ruined that was starting a team. I haven't talked about this a lot. But once I had a team, the agents that came to me did not look at the clients like that. They looked at it like a mercenary. I want a closing. What do I got to do to get to the closing table? I want my money, like the agent you were just referring to. And that actually killed referral business. People stopped coming back because they're like, well, I was going to get David, but now I'm going to get one of David's agents and they're good. But, you know, they didn't really listen to me. They didn't really know what I was looking for. They tried to sell me on something I didn't want. And over time, all those leads bled out. And the real estate team eventually ended up dying. And I've realized since that when you're doing the job that you're doing, you're not just working for that client, you're working for everyone in their database too. How does that affect the way that you're interacting with the people that you're coming across every day?
Well, I'll say this: when I set goals for the year, I do not set a goal based on volume. People ask that all the time. What's your goal this year? What are you we can do? I say I don't know. I don't track that metric. Like I don't. I'm not going to set a goal based on volume. I set goals based on number of transactions because that is numbers of families and people and customers helped. So if I have that mentality, like my greatest referral web, all right, is it was my very first listing, 2019. I am still selling houses from referrals from that very first listing because listed her house, helped her sister buy a home. Then I helped the person who I listed she bought, so that's 3 transactions. Then she had another sister buy, and then I helped the other sister sell. It was 11 transactions out of that. Like it's a confusing web and how it goes, but it's just the power of a referral and a strong network and a strong and a strong just relationship you build. Like it is kind of, you get so close with people. I feel like you do during transactions, especially if they're bumpy and they're rough. Like you're talking to people who are stressed out every day. I've got one that I'm calling them every day. I'm saying, hey, and one thing I will not do, even when I don't know answers, is I don't not answer a phone. If because I understand this is a stressful thing for you and me. We're callous to this. We understand any transaction can be delayed a freaking month for any reason. But these people don't. It's the world to them. And I make it a point to answer every phone call, even if I know they're going to chew me out and be mad at me, even though it's not my fault. Hey, I'm sorry that there's title issues. I'm sorry that there's lending issues. I'm going to be there and answer that phone call to at least be somebody who can put them at ease and say, I'm working on this.
Mm-hmm.
I get stuff closed. You want me in your corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you think a lot of other realtors just don't take the phone call?
I think a lot of people don't take phone calls.
And is that because they don't want to be bothered? They're lazy? Do you think some of it is anxiety? Like, I don't want to be mad at me, so let me just not deal with it at all.
All of it. Yeah. Absolutely. Like even like paid lead stuff. I know people who just like, oh gosh, I miss so many phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, you're paying for that thing and you're not answering it.
Oh, I know, man.
Like my wife knows, even if I'm at dinner and a Zillow phone call shows up, I'm answering that. She understands. She gets it. Now I'll go fast on the conversation, but I'm going to make that phone call.
Take the call. Introduce yourself, make a really good impression in 30 seconds. Say, I'm at dinner right now. Can I email you? We'll schedule a time to have another phone call, go back to eating dinner.
You could literally, I think a person, if they answered every phone call, could probably, without trying, sell 20 to 30 houses a year
Okay.
without trying at all. Just
So this
answering phone calls.
this takes us back to the extrovert versus introvert dilemma here. Do you think this is why extroverts have the advantage? Because answering that phone to an extrovert is like an injection of energy. Ooh, it's a new person to talk to. It's a new problem to solve. It's a new thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Like if I'm an introvert, like I'm freezing up every time. Uh, I'm freezing up every time a phone rings. I'm like, oh gosh, I can't get this. I can't get this call. Ugh, I don't want to talk to these people. And I do know people like that. Like a lot of clients. It was funny. I was in a closing yesterday, and um, one of the documents in titles like, hey, I need your number in case any document's wrong. I need you to come down here. And they said, whose number should I get? And the girl goes, definitely his, because I don't answer any phone call. and and for me, it's opposite. Like I have to answer every call, even when I know, hey, this is probably going to be a spam call. Okay, it is. Hello, this is Safe Haven. No, I don't want to talk to you, Safe Haven. You call me 4 times a week. I get it. No, don't talk to me. But I still answer the call because you never know who it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because like someone like me, I have a lot of out of state properties. And so my information ends up on the title list that people trying to buy out of state properties look up. So I get spam calls constantly from all of the spammy investors. I get text messages. I mean, my phone's probably ringing every 6 to 7 minutes a day. It doesn't stop with numbers that I don't know. So what I had to do just so I could use the phone is I had to turn off any number that I don't know. That also causes anxiety though, because occasionally a bank will be trying to call me or somebody important will be trying to get a hold of me. And now I don't even see it ring because if it's a number I don't have saved, it won't show up on the phone. It goes to show it's a certain kind of person that can sell houses, I guess is what I'm getting at. It is not, I hate my job. I want an easy life. I just had a kid and I want something I can do on the side that's flexible.
I don't know that I'd ever call this easy. Um, you can definitely have some easy ones, and those are like, oh man, I sure love those people. But dude, I feel like I claw at business, and I'm trying to drum it up, and I'm trying to move it, and year after year, sometimes you feel like you're working twice as hard with half the results as you were last year. It's hard work, but again, I like to work hard. And probably it's probably a bit of a, I might even call it a bit of a downfall, a little bit of an issue, um, because I have this thing where it's like I can't. I'm wired in such a way where I need to be moving, I need to be working, that it's hard for me to relax because I just enjoy working and doing things and selling homes and you know dealing with real estate transactions and maybe buying something or flipping something or chatting with these people about building a new house on their land. I just love it so much
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not a huge fan of sitting on the beach.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. If I was to design a real estate agent in a lab, it would be really close to you, Kaleb. You've got a motor. You like to talk to people. It energizes you to talk to people. You like working. You are willing to answer the phone and talk. You have the attitude of I work for the deal, not necessarily the emotional gratification that comes out of it. Sometimes people are going to be mad. I mean, my experience, if you have a guest that stays at your short-term rental and something like some act of God happens that you could have never predicted and you do an amazing job fixing it, they still leave you a bad review a lot of the time. When I was at the restaurant, when the kitchen messed up your order, it was not my fault. I could move heaven and earth to fix this as fast as possible, get you something free to eat in the meantime, give you a free dessert, do everything that I could. I still got a bad tip. It was not my fault, but if the experience is bad, people will blame you. As you were talking earlier, I was just thinking, you got to have this happen all the time where these complicated deals go bad.
The experience, how you as the agent, how you handle it is, I would say, 80% of how it's perceived. Because you're the professional, you're the one who is the calming factor. Like they don't know what's good, what's bad. They don't. So this just happened this week. Um, I had a closing delayed about 2 weeks, um, and so I was going out of town last weekend. We did a final walkthrough um, on a Friday. They were supposed to close either maybe that Friday, but could be Monday for sure. So we did a final walkthrough. We stashed the key, just in case anybody needed to get in, we'll be good to go. Well, they didn't close that Monday, didn't close Tuesday, didn't close that week at all. We got the clear to close on Tuesday morning. So we're set. We're going to go close at 2:30 this last Tuesday. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go over there because I like to go to closings, right? I like to, usually I'll be there. I'll poke in late, let them sign, do their thing. But I like to go, give them a big hug, ask for a referral, um, and say, but I was like, hey, I'm going to go grab that key so I can give it to you guys. And I go stop at this house. I, jump up on that ledge, grab the key. I said, I'm going to walk in. And I was not like, I've done this 100 times, as you have, David. You walk in and nothing's out of the ordinary, right? You're just going in, you're going out. So I'm watching a video, I'm just kind of like listening to something, had a headphone in my ear. I walk in the kitchen. I start walking out because all right, looks good. And I look down and I see this like droplet of water. And I was like, And I look up because I'm thinking something fell, so we got a leak or something. It's been kind of rainy. I was like, no. And I take a step towards it, and water starts to bubble out of these hardwoods. And I was like, and I take a step back, and I like start to slosh a little bit on the hardwoods. And I was like, oh no. So I like take the headphone out because I know what this means, right? I got to listen for some water. And so I'm listening for water. I was like, okay, I hear it. It's in the garage. I run to the garage. I open up the closet with the water heater. The water heater had rusted out and just been filling up, going through, just straight through into the drain pan, filled up the drain pan. A lot of it went down the drain, but a whole bunch of it overflowed, flooded these hardwoods, um, flooded the master bedroom, destroyed the carpet, standing water in the master bath. Honestly, a nightmare situation, right? But here's the deal. When I first saw the droplet, I thought, uh-oh, I just thought a slab leak. I was like, that's not good. And then I heard the noise. And when I heard the noise and I opened it up, I said, oh, we're going to still close this thing today. We're getting this closed. They're going to be happy. Because here's the reality of the situation. And you've probably had things like this as a lot of agents have. When things like that happen, honestly, it can be fixed and it can be fixed fast. It just takes money. And so while I call the seller and I call the listing agent and I'm like, hey, we got a big problem. I'm FaceTiming them, showing this. They're on their way. They're like, oh my gosh, get it stopped. So I managed to get the water stopped. While they're on their way, I'm calling people. Hey, what's your square footage for replacement of hardwoods? What's your square footage for replacement of carpet? And okay, we know what hot water tanks are. So by the time they get there, I'd already had the conversation with my buyers. I'm like, hey, there's an issue. Showed them, FaceTimed them. I said, I think we can still get this thing closed today. And I think you're going to be happy because I think we can get a check for you. Because at the end of the day, they were going to probably do some stuff. They were going to maybe replace that carpet. They were going to maybe resurface those floors. But Mr. Seller came in and, he saw a mountain of damage, right? What he saw in his head was, oh my gosh, this is going to bust my deal or delay it a month because I have to call insurance, and insurance might pay out. They might not. They might give me what I need to do. This could take forever. But I said, hey, I'm getting a monetary value of somewhere around $5,000. I think if you write a $5,000 check, and just give it to them, we'll close this thing. We'll say that you have nothing to do with anything after. They can't hold you liable for anything, any other damages. This is it. And they said, really? That'll work? I said, that'll work. And it got done and it got closed, about 20 minutes behind schedule. So, yeah, stuff happens. Stuff comes up. You got to be the guy that sorts it out. You got to be the calm. You got to be that calmness in the storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. In fact, you made me think earlier when we were talking about telling them to buy a house or not to buy a house. We got off that subject a little early. I think most people want an agent to give an opinion. I think they want them to say, I think you should do it under these circumstances. I don't think you should do it, and here's why. I don't think very many people are looking for a yes man. I don't know that every client can articulate it like I just said. That's what they want. They don't want you to argue with them, of course. But I think way too many agents err on the side of trying to keep everyone happy. And then they just become this wet noodle without an opinion. And you're like, why are you here? You're just a transaction coordinator that opens doors. As opposed to, I know what this town is. I know what houses are out there. I'm experienced. I know how these deals work. Here's what I think we should do. What's your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. And, people have their opinions, right? I had this one couple who in 22, they probably should never have actually sold their home. But in 22, they came to me. I helped them buy it. And they said, hey, I want to sell. And I was like, guys, I was straight with them. I said, I don't think you need to sell right now. I said, any equity you build in this house, you're going to spend it on the next house. Like you got to go above and beyond. And it's going to end up being a lateral move for you when you really don't. You're in a good interest rate. They bought this house at a wonderful price. Well, the next year they said it again. And I said, okay, now I've already given you my opinion. I've already told you what I thought you should do, and I think you should stay. But at this point, you don't want to. So, all right, I'll do my best for you in this situation. And I've done that with houses too that people decide they like. Like I will tell someone, hey, this thing is a stinker. You don't want it. Or I'll tell them, hey, this is great. Sometimes I don't really, it's a preference, right? I don't really have an opinion either way. Yeah, it's a decent house. I don't see anything wrong with it. Probably wouldn't be my choice, but it might be yours. So in that case, it's like, all right, when they ask me to be in that position of, hey, this is what we want, you help us. You help me get this thing. How do I get this home? Like I had one, we had an offer. They sent an offer. It was listed at 296,000. 296,000. And they sent an offer. It'd been on market for probably like 3 months, one of those like 80, 90 days. And of course, once one person's interested in it, then you get another party. That's just how real estate works, right? It can be no one cares about this thing for 3 months, but my people like it. Well, someone else does too. So we sent a kind of a low ball offer, right? Like 280 and needed like 8 grand, 9 grand in closing costs. We send that over. And then of course they're like, hey, we need a highest and best by end of the day. And so I have a conversation with them. I say, guys, do you like this house? They said, oh, we love it. It's great. I said, do you just want to, let's just get you in the game. Like you can always cancel if the inspection's bad. Let's get you in the game and let's figure out some stuff. And so they're like, okay, what do you recommend? How do you recommend getting this house? I said, well, let's bring it. Give them what they want, the 296,000. Don't ask for any closing costs because you're going to want to do some stuff. Like it was a nice house, but you're going to want to make some updates. Let's do an inspection and say, hey, instead of repairs, because everybody knows that every inspection report's going to be like 60 pages long and it's going to scare everybody half to death. You send that to the seller and say, hey, you know what? In lieu of repairs, we just want another 9 grand in closing costs. Sounds real close to like that other deal, didn't it? And so that's exactly what we did. And every point, right? That's always a negotiation. That 9 grand in closing costs, they countered back at 45. We countered back at 65, and they said, okay, cool, let's do it. And everybody was happy. Seller was happy because he got it sold, and they got their closing costs they wanted.
Now, how do you think somebody else might have handled that would have messed it up? So as like people are listening to this, if they're not you, what do you think that they might have done that we can highlight so that they can realize that they should approach it your way?
So sometimes people like the lender might say, hey, this thing only works when we have closing costs. And a lot of time it does, right? Like if that's what I'm told, I'll fight tooth and nail. But sometimes you can take that a little bit too far and assume that they just like they don't have the ability to do some things, right? And so for me, it's like, hey, as long as you're good, like the worst case scenario on that thing, was that, hey, you pay your own closing costs. And are you okay with that? Like, if you're okay with that, or dropping out of escrow, if you're okay with that, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Like, I don't know if some people like look at the what's the worst case scenario, and it's not that bad. Like, who did this is bringing me back like 10 years. Tim Ferriss used to have a podcast. I don't know if you know the Tim Ferriss podcast, but he used to say something. Well, what's the worst case scenario? Am I eating beans? Okay, well, beans aren't that bad. Like, it's really, you're not you're not going hungry. You're not things are not that bad, even in some worst case scenarios.
I do this to myself all the time. I mean, I never stopped doing that. When I was in law enforcement, I was making money the hard way. I would load up. The only way you made money as a cop is you worked overtime. And we had certain situations that were structured contractually where you could get double time instead of time and a half. So my goal was I need to be in double time as much as I possibly can be, and I will give up everything else to do it. I'm not going to have fun. I'm not going to get enough sleep. I'm not going to be going out on dates. Like, I'm going to commit to this, and everything else is going to have to wait so I can save up this money to buy real estate so I can eventually get out of being a cop, right? Instead of running a marathon for 30 years, I wanted to get as much as I could done in like 8 years so I could step out and go do something else. And people would say, how are you working 18-hour days? Or 20-hour days were kind of normal. I'd work 20 hours. I'd sleep for 2.5, 3 hours in the car. I'd get up, I'd go put on my uniform, and I'd work another 20. And the answer was I would focus on how it could be worse, right? I'm not in a coal mine. I'm not doing manual labor, putting a roof on a house. I'm just a cop, right? Sometimes I'm chasing someone. Sometimes I'm standing somewhere. Sometimes I'm looking for somebody in the bushes. A lot of the time I'm sitting in the car. The car's doing the hard work. My foot's just moving this much, right? I would tell myself these stories all the time. Like, I live in an era where we have caffeine. How lucky am I that I have unlimited caffeine to keep me awake? Whatever I had to do, that's how I kept the good attitude so I could keep going. I think this attitude that people have that you're supposed to work 9 to 5, you are not supposed to work nights or weekends. I'm not saying that everyone should do what I did. I don't think it's everyone's deal. But I didn't have a bad attitude about it because I never believed that I have a right as a human being to work 40 hours a week. I had the idea like I have a right as a human being to try to survive. And we have a lot of rules in place that give people better lives by limiting work to 40 hours a week before you get overtime. But that's not mandated by God. That's not a law of nature. And the more people cling to that, I think personally, the worse their attitude gets when they have to do something like show a house at 6:30. And that shows up with how they interact with the client. It shows up with how they serve the client. Do you have a similar mindset, and that's how you're able to just keep going like you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I am truly blessed, man. I get to do this. Like, um I get to go bring my family with me for a day. Say, hey, we got some closings, we're doing showings, so y'all pile in. And I get to bring my family with me. We get to go drive around. And yeah, are they in the car too long? Probably. Do they get tired? Yeah. Do I get tired? Sure. Do I have too many gas station boiled eggs and beef jerky? Absolutely. You got to keep it carnivore though. But like, I love doing this so much. I am so blessed. It could be so much worse. I could be like, I live in rural Oklahoma. 20 minutes from me is the pipeline crossroad of the world. I went to high school with so many guys that, went to the pipeline. And that's a phenomenal, they created a phenomenal life for their family. They make a great wage, a great salary. But dude, they're doing 612s, man. They're leaving their house at 4 in the morning with um, all their tools and everything. It's a long, hard, and they're doing hard work. And in the summer, when it's 110 here, because it gets real hot in the summer in Oklahoma, they're still doing it. And I am blessed to be able to, go show a house or go do some other things that
Yeah.
are,
Yep. You're sleeping in your own
um,
bed every night. You're coming home to your family. You can answer the phone while you're working. You're running a pipeline. You're doing some of the other jobs. You're working in a manufacturing plant. You're doing nothing but that for the time that you're there. You're not staying connected to your
I,
family.
2 weeks ago, I'm not a big long vacation guy. So I'm a 48 hour guy. 48 hours on the ground wherever I go, if it's away from here. because I love Oklahoma. I love working. I love doing stuff. I got a lot of stuff going. But a couple weeks ago, we went to Florida, 48 hours there. Contracted 3 deals. It was great. You still get stuff going when you're getting to hang out somewhere else and you're getting to spend some time with your family. Yeah, this is an incredible industry. It could be a lot worse if than answering phone calls when somebody has a stressful thing or they need to go look at a house and you can schedule it.
Well, let's be frank. You're going to be stressed either way. You're going to be stressed because there's too much work to do and there's not enough of you to do it. You're going to be stressed because you hired other people to do the work and they're not doing a good enough job, or they want a day off, or they want to take a vacation. Or you're going to be stressed because you don't have enough clients, you're running out of money. It's one of those three options. There's no way to avoid this.
I say this all the time: is stress is directly the job stress is directly related with the amount of money that you come out of in most cases. Like most people are going to be stressed one way or another. I might be stressed on, structuring deals and doing that. And like every once in a while you get one of those deals where it's like, I swear that one put a few gray hairs on me. Like that was a tough one. I had to watch that family sleep on a couch for 3 weeks while we got this thing closed. But you know what? Some people are stressed about money. Some people are stressed about what they're going to do tomorrow, the next meal. And hey, this, if we can manage that, like managing stress is really like if you're good at that and you can say, okay, cool. Like 79 deals is what I did last year. My very first year in real estate, my goal was 12. I did 13. The next year, my goal was 24. I did 32. The next year was 36, and I did 48. And then the next year, goal was 50. I did 54. Next year, the goal was another 50 because like, can I do that again? Can I prove to myself I can close 50 deals again for a second year in a row? I closed 79. And so what's funny is that first year I thought I was really busy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I'm a busy agent. This is great. And then my capacity grew. And then when I did 36 when I did 36, I was like, gosh, or 32. I was like, man, I was really busy. I did 3 times the work I did last year. I was really busy. And then my capacity grew even more. And then you start growing. So even at 79 transactions, I still look at myself and I say, I can do more. I can do 100. Like God has blessed us as humans with like being, it's like I on the power team, I was, broke a lot of things. I was a strong young man. Your muscles build. Like when I was 16, yeah, I could bench press 300 pounds. By the time I was 19, I was bench pressing over 530 pounds. We are blessed to be able to take on all forms of stress and be able to manage them in such a way that each time, yeah, I can handle a little bit more. I can handle a little bit more. It's an incredible thing that we have abilities for.
Not only are we designed to manage it, it's actually a prerequisite to get stronger. You can't get your muscles bigger unless you lift more than you're capable of lifting. And it sends the message to the muscle to rebuild bigger than it was because you're trying to lift something heavy. I think that is like a secret in God's design that lets us know how human beings should work mentally. How many women have become single mothers unexpectedly, ended up with a deadbeat father, had to figure it all out for themselves and realized they were capable of things that they never thought they were capable of? How many guys were jokers, didn't have their dad in the house, didn't know what they were doing, knocked a girl up. All of a sudden they're like, oh man, I need to get my stuff together, and went on to become very successful. It is the pressure and the tension and the strain that wakes something up in us that gives us the capacity to achieve greatness. And my belief is that you won't ever find your purpose that God gave for you. Like you'll never find your ideal body unless you go lift heavier weights and you work out as hard as you can. You'll never find your ideal personality, your ideal career, your ideal gifting if you're not being pressured and stressed. And one of the things I really admire about you is as you're going through that painful process of closing 79 houses and doing everything else, you don't have a bad attitude. You're this optimistic rhino that's charging through whatever is coming your way, setting a really good example for everyone else that shows what people are capable of.
Oh yeah, I have this. But again, though, it's just like I love it, right? I love it so much. I have this joke with a few lenders. I'm like, that's why you guys call me the pizza boy, because I get these referrals from my lenders, and I say if I'm not contracted with them in 24 hours or less, it's free. So, like, I love it so much. It's so much fun to be able to do this. Um, that yeah, it's when you're constantly energized from something, it's hard to be beaten down. It's hard to be broken down. Like I still get euphoric every time a deal gets under contract. Like it's so great. It's like, yeah, let's go. Now, if it, I would be lying if I said it was like it was, the first year. It's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But it drives me, because it's, oh, I get to help somebody else. I get to help this next person. These guys are great. I get to walk through and see all types of people. And honestly, the connections I've made doing this has changed my life forever. Like my business partner for the construction side of things was a client who I met selling houses.
Wow. That just goes to show why you got to talk to everybody, why you got to get to know everybody. I interviewed an agent called Landon Chase a couple episodes back, and Landon talked about very similar to you. He's like, I just wanted to serve everybody. I started in my church. I started serving everyone. I just wanted to help them. Word got around that I was really good at this and I was very helpful and people could trust me. Next thing I know, he's one of the top 8 agent, I think, in the state of Arizona right now.
That's crazy.
And he's running another company just like you. He's running a media company. He's actually he's a guy that does a lot of Mark Driscoll's content. If you've ever listened to any of his sermons,
do you know of Mark Driscoll?
Yeah, he's blowing up all over the internet. That's a legit, real business that Landon is running. In addition to selling all these houses, and that we are not saying this to make anyone feel bad about themselves, like, oh, I suck, I can't even do one thing, and they're doing 2. It's that the capacity of human beings is brilliant. Like you just said, Kaleb, when you put them under stress and we have a good attitude and we walk forward saying, I know I can do this. The thing I'm trying to combat with this is the agents that look for reasons to justify why they don't try or why they don't serve their clients and they just serve themselves.
Well, there's a name for that. So, you've heard of the term the Midas touch, right?
Yep.
Everything they touch is gold. Well, there's an opposite of that too. Like we call that a junk finger. That they're going to find a reason to turn something to junk. They're going to be like, oh, this is bad. We got to bust this deal. This is horrible. I gotta close this thing. This is if I don't close this, I'm not going to feed my family. Yeah. I mean, when you come from a sense of desperation, like everybody seeks it out. Like everybody knows, you can smell it. Everybody knows. It's like, oh, well, this guy.
I mean, that's a good point.
What do they call it? Commission breath? Something like that?
Commission breath, yeah. And that's a good point to mention, not just for the agents, but when I'm representing a client and I can tell that the seller's desperate, the agent lets on that the seller's desperate. Not smart. Not a good idea to let the other side know that your client is in a big bind and they have to get the thing closed, right?
Absolutely.
But this happens a lot. Agents don't take their job seriously of representing their clients. And I'll call them out. Oh my God, my sellers, I really need to close this, David. Please, you got to get your people to close. My seller's got all of his stuff in the moving truck and it's on his way to another state right now. And they got no plan. And I'm like, well, here comes a big credit.
Write a $5,000 check.
Or in California, that might be $25,000, right? Like what that... It's my job to advise my client on what is in their best interest. It's their job to do the same. They're not doing their job. They have commission breath and it shows in the transaction. All right, Kaleb, this has been fantastic. Thank you for taking some time to share your insight, especially it's about almost 9:00 over here in Oklahoma and you worked all day and you're still taking time to give back to the Real Talk Real Estate audience. So we appreciate you. If anybody wants to reach out, they want to talk about buying in Oklahoma, they want to talk about what you're doing in the business, what they could do, where can they find you?
Man, you can find me anywhere. I am on Facebook at Kaleb Wright with a K. I'm on Instagram at the Lord Kaleb Wright. I'm on TikTok at Real Estate Rhino. And because it's everywhere, my cell phone number is 918-693-3535. Call me anytime.
There you go, folks. That is how you do it. And when you call, we'll see if he actually answers his phone or if he was full of it on the podcast. Kaleb, thank you for being here today. I hope people reach out. Remember, everyone, today's show was sponsored by The One Brokerage. So if you would like an honest lender to help you finance real estate with great rates and incredible service, give us a shot. Send me a message and I'll connect you with somebody myself. Make sure that you like this video. Share it with another realtor you know that could benefit from it. And leave a comment. Let us know what your favorite part of Kaleb's story was. I'll see you guys next week on Real Talk Realtor.